Hey, and welcome to map 25, Bloodfalls. So you can see that this opening room is somewhat different. It's laid out a tiny bit differently, you start in a different spot. And you can see there, it's actually in the map 30 slot, which gives off the idea that this was potentially an early candidate as a final level. You can see that these windows here are also completely different. We're going to clip through here so I can show you what it looks like from here. But it's clear that you were supposed to get shot at by enemies from these windows here. And you can see that you were meant to come here at some point because there's a rocket launcher there, which, I mean, it's there. But you can see the teleporters here take you to all of the different areas, and when you run out of the window here, it actually brings down a wall that you can teleport off to. Now you'll recognise this as the final part of the Bloodfalls level. We're not going to kind of go into the end bit just yet. We're going to actually keep looking into what is actually here. But it's very clear that at this point in the development of this beta, this level is still very disjointed, and no more so is that obvious than here, where the room with the Arachnotron and the Megasphere and the Shotgunner and I think it's the blue key is gone. And when we drop down here, we see that this isn't even here. So this level is very much a work in progress. But like I said, it is in the map 30 slot, which kind of raises the idea of, was this being developed originally as a final level? And did they change their mind towards the end of development? There's no secret there, which, you know, that secret's useless anyway. But this part is very reminiscent of what you'd see in the final release here. We'll take down the Pain Elemental there. Let's shoot you. It's interesting that there are already enemies in this part of the level, so they must have been fairly confident in this, which is interesting because when we go up that elevator in a second, you're going to see that they actually didn't stick with the design fully that they committed to here. But yeah, Bloodfalls is quite fascinating, and this is going to be something that we're going to see as we move now through these levels. There's going to be a lot of levels that are not complete, disjointed, moved around, but this room is much lighter than it is in the retail version. I mean, you've still got that weird glitchy thing above the teleporter there. But you've also still got the Archvile and the Chain Gunners here. They normally just wander out from the sides, but it's fascinating to think what this would have led to, this teleporter here, and what the idea was for this to be like a final boss encounter area. Would this have taken you somewhere else? Who knows? Or was it just in the map 30 slot because they developed this, you know, as a level and they hadn't fought an Icon of Sin yet? It's all very fascinating to think about. But now I'm going to show you what the retail version looks like. So you can see that you begin in the center of the room here, and we've still got the two drop down positions, but they're, you know, slightly differently orientated. We obviously can't see what's in there, which is a shame, but we can see that this part is completely different. So we'll pick up the cell ammo there. And obviously this room here is very much completed here, which is good. So when I'm playing this level from pistol start, I like coming this way first, just because it makes things a lot easier. Get rid of these lost souls. So you can see there's a lot of moving parts in this room, but the real reason you come in here is for that Megasphere. It makes the rest of the level a lot easier. You can see the blue key as well is tucked high on the wall to my left. We can't actually get there from in this room. We have to actually come back through a teleporter. I don't really mind Bloodfalls. It's a very inoffensive level to me. It's not the best, but it's certainly not the worst, and I think that it's a neat little challenge. So when we drop down here, we have two routes we can go to. If we come through this waterfall, we can actually kill all the enemies in here and grab a chain gun for ourselves. So we want to try and get rid of that bony boy on top of the blood fall, whatever that thing is in the middle. But as I mentioned in the beta run of this level, it's fascinating to think what the original ideas were for this level, because none of this was actually in the beta, so this was developed pretty late in development, which is interesting, because they took the pieces that were there and kind of formed it into this, what we know as Bloodfalls. So I'm going to come up top here and take down all the enemies here, because they will chip away at my health if I don't do that. So take care of the imps there. Rocket launcher. So yeah, that comes down in the middle as well. I just wanted to point that out because, like, there's no reason for it to come down at all, but it does. So this is like a little cave area. This is probably the most generic part of this level, because there's just a bunch of shotgunners, imps, and there's a hell knight in here. But it does have the plasma rifle, so it's not that challenging once you grab this. So this brings us back to the blue key here, and we're pretty much heading towards the exit here. Grab some of this good stuff in here. So an interesting note is that this blue door, it's similar across all the versions except the Game Boy Advance version. So when you come in here in the Game Boy Advance version, at the top of that lift that we're going to go up in a second, it's actually got a little bit of a sort of staircase that you have to sort of go around. And I suspect that that's because they didn't want the load of like all those enemies up there and all that room back there to have to slow down the room. It's a subtle change, but it's one worth noting. We're also going to come into the most useless secret in Doom 2. Now I think there's something in there in one of the settings. I don't know if it's co-op or in one of the like easier settings, but if you play this on ultraviolence, that is a worthless secret. But you can see this is pretty much one for one for what we saw in that beta level. But you'll also see now how this room changed. So this room's a bit bigger. It's got some pillars in here. And there's a bunch of enemies sort of dotted around who are going to wander around in the dark and try and cause us problems. That weird pattern made it here. So I read somewhere that that was intentional. I'm not quite sure if that's the case, but I remember reading that one of the developers said that that was done intentionally. It's certainly a statement. But yeah, this level's not too difficult. If you kind of grab the plasma rifle, you can pretty much burn through the last part of Bloodfalls. It's a fun level. It's a fun little level. It's not super memorable, but it's a level that does the job, and I think what they made of this level is pretty great. I think that for what it needed to be, this is a nice little challenge as you're heading towards the end of the game. But let's look at how this turned out on PS1. So you can see this opening area is functionally the same. I think the drop there is a bit shorter than on the other versions, but we'll still come in here and grab the cell ammo because, you know, why not? The thing with this level is there's no real huge rooms, so it's not like this needed modifying in a grand way. That door's a bit annoying when you're trying to clear all the enemies in here because you kind of have to keep going over that line dev to keep it open. But you can see there's no pain elementals again. But on a lot of these Doom 2 levels in the PS1 versions, you'll notice that they don't like using the pain elementals, and I suspect that's because they're worried about the pain elementals just flooding the level with more enemies than the console could handle. Oh, these pink so annoying. So the good thing here is that we can actually see them. In the PC version, if you remember, like, they were a bit hard to see, so you kind of had to wait for them to run right up to you. For those who played on Doom 95 back in the day, you'll probably remember that the Spectres were incorrectly functioned on that one, so they'd flash kind of like white and clear, so they were kind of very obvious where they were. That's how I remember the Spectres in this little pool of blood here, because they made it actually a lot easier to kill them. But yeah, never play the Doom 95 port, it's pretty awful. So you can see here, there's actually a translucent texture here for the waterfall. I like that, it's quite impressive. Not sure what's going on here with the two armors. For some reason they've figured that they'll put the two armors next to each other and you have a choice. So thanks for that, game. There's no bony boy up top, there's just a chain gunner. Now the thing is, if you rush down here before you go to the side room that we did, you know, where all the lost souls were, I find it makes this level a lot more difficult. So you'll notice that whenever I do this level, I always sort of go down that way first, grab the mega armor, and then come into this courtyard, because there's a lot of enemies here who will chip away your health very quickly. They are not afraid to use you as target practice. So we're just going to take care of all these enemies. So yeah, this does come down again in the middle. That again, it doesn't really serve a purpose. This room's pretty much unchanged. The enemies in here are the same as what you've seen before. As mentioned, this level doesn't really have any super large areas, so I imagine it wasn't that much of a pain to port this one over. Can't forget the plasma rifle, obviously. I do like the custom lighting in this level. It really does like help to make the blood pop. There's not that much blood though. Like for a level called Bloodfalls, there really isn't that much blood like flowing around here. So you know, I'd recommend a name change, to be honest. So we're just going to clear this room out here. It sticks to the PC design here, but as mentioned in the Game Boy Advance version, this bit is changed ever so slightly. I suspect just to kind of keep things working along, because you've seen how rough that version can get. Obviously, there's a secret here. Let's find it. Yes. So instead of having like pain elementals here, you just get some imps. So this part becomes a lot easier. Oh, and a chain gunner in there, but you know. So this bit's got a bunch of Hell Knights in here rather than the Archvile. Now if these were Barons of Hell, I think this would actually be a really cool ending to the level, but for some reason the Doom 2 PS1 like port of these Doom 2 levels really doesn't like using Barons of Hell. I suspect it's more of a difficulty thing than like anything else, because Barons of Hell can kind of chomp away your health. But here we are at the end of the level, and you'll notice they fixed the thing above the teleporter, so it no longer is glitched. So Bloodfalls is really interesting to talk about. The beta was in the map 30 slot. Could this have been a viable boss level if they'd tinkered with it a bit more? What did you think of this level? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.